What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk here, back again with another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about the recent rumors that have been floating around on the 32 Thoughts podcast and I believe The Athletic. And of course, people always chime in on Twitter, but I have my own thoughts and opinions. You guys have your own thoughts and opinions, so make sure to put those down below. Let's have a good hockey conversation. And if you are new here and if you love Leafs news, trades, and rumors and podcasts and live streams and everything, make sure to like this video and subscribe. A lot more is on the way. But yeah, there's definitely some information that I want to talk about. I just want to briefly say congratulations to Jason Spezza. I'm a little surprised that he did not get to that 1,000 points. He retired before that, but it's another hole that the Leafs have to fill. The good thing is that he's going to be staying with the team in a head office job. He's going to be a special assistant to Kyle Dubas. So that's good, but again, another spot that needs to be filled and more available, places for some of these young guys to try to step up and take it, or the Leafs will fill it with a free agent signing or a trade. But let's get into what I wanted to talk about today. So this tweet here coming from Williston Rylander, of course, Nylander Thews on Twitter, definitely an account that everybody sees all the time. So this was him quoting Elliot Friedman on the 32 Thoughts podcast, saying that a couple people have told him to watch the Rasmus Sandin situation with Toronto and where it goes. He asked, does Toronto feel they have to create room for him, or is Sandin concerned about his spot? If so, is there a deal that makes sense? I don't know where this is coming from. Obviously, he has sources. I don't, but I just think that this is ridiculous because I think Rasmus Sandin is one of the building blocks towards, making this blue line a little bit younger and trying to acquire more physical younger guys to pair with guys like Rasmus Sandin, who can play physical, but is that good two-way, good skating, high offense, left-handed shot defenseman that basically can run right under Morgan Riley because of another rumor that we're going to get to about Jake Muzzin. And if, you trade away guys on the right side and, you can move guys over. Sandin doesn't really play the right side, but I just don't think that he's a movable piece. And in terms of the way he plays, obviously without injury, Rasmus Sandin is one of the better players on this team. He's shown that he can be a really, really good top four guy if given the opportunity. And I think that he's going to get a full-time opportunity this year. So I'm not really sure why the Leafs would move on from him right now. Obviously, he doesn't have a contract. He's a restricted free agent, but I don't believe his deal is going to be very high. So this is the cap hit that he had before, of course, and we're going to look at some of his numbers here. So 16 points in 51 games played, and then previous to that 4 in 9 games, and then 8 in 28. He's had a few stints with the team here, and obviously with the Toronto Marlies he can put up really good numbers, and in the playoffs with the Marlies he did really well. And then 2021 played in 5 games, had 1 point. So I definitely want to see Rasmus Sandin stick around with this team. And like I said, I do believe that between him and Liljegren, they're going to get contracts with this team because, again, they're both restricted free agents. I'll show you what I think, but you guys have seen in previous videos, I believe they're going to get similar deals, but I overpay a little bit just to show how much cap space the Leafs would potentially have if they were paid around $2.5 million each, which I don't believe is going to be the cost. I think it should be lower. I always go back to the Travis Dermott contracts. They were never that expensive, and Dermott at the time was looked at as a guy that could be really, really good. Didn't pan out in Toronto. They moved on from him, but Sandin and Liljegren are a little bit different, but in this case, they haven't played full seasons, and they're going to want that bridge contract anyways to, get a very large number, hopefully, instead of signing these smaller deals in bridge contracts and stuff like that. It's good for the player and the team. The team gets them at a lower AAV, and the player gets an opportunity to make more money with good play in a short amount of time. So I think that makes the most sense. I just don't see how you trade Rasmus Sandin. The only way, in any way it makes sense, is if you're pairing him with something else to acquire a legitimate physical top six forward, and then addressing your blue line in free agency, or, holding on to the blue line you have now and then acquiring depth at the blue line. But when it comes to the Leafs trying to save money, the next guy that I'm going to be bringing up is the reason why the Leafs might need to consider keeping Sandin and giving him a larger role. And that's because there's been rumors that Jake Muzzin could potentially be moved back to the LA Kings. Mrazek and Mikheyev are unlikely to return. Now, let's start off with Mikheyev. He's probably going to price himself out of staying with Toronto. The only way it does make sense is if you do trade Muzzin and you do trade Mrazek, you're going to have a little bit more money to play with and you might be able to hold on to him. Mrazek, you're going to have to attach pieces to get rid of that contract. Nothing too crazy, but you're definitely going to have to attach something of good value. Mikheyev walking in free agency would kind of suck because he just had 21 goals this year. But the main piece of this rumor is Jake Muzzin, and that directly attaches to the Rasmus Sandin conversation. Because if you move on from Jake Muzzin, you're taking out a physical top 4 guy, but he's been injured. He hasn't been playing a lot, and that's something that the Leafs have to consider. And then everybody keeps bringing up the no trade clause. Well, he's got the no trade clause this year and then the modified one next year. But there's definitely a conversation that will be had with him, I'm sure, where the team could definitely be like, listen, man, we need you to give us a few teams that you think you'd want to go to. And if he completely refuses, then sure, they won't move on from him. And I don't think that that's the worst thing that could happen. You just hold on to him. But if the Leafs are looking to save money and they want to move on from him, that $5.6 million would be a very big amount of money to spend on a younger defenseman like a Sandin, like a Liljegren, and go out there and maybe sign one. That would make sense. Now, he's had some really good years. Even in the playoffs, he's scored a couple goals in each of the last 2 playoff series. He's not an overly offensive guy, but he does put up pretty decent numbers. And, of course, that physical play is there. But he's getting older, and he's not as physical because of his injuries, because of the concussions and stuff like that. So now it turns to, okay, can the Leafs save more money by trading these contracts, these older players with older contracts, and sign some of their younger guys and maybe hold on to someone like Mikheyev? So just hypothetically, I've called up Robertson and Abruzzese because these are the 2 guys that seem like they're going to get the biggest shot to make the team next year. So that would leave you Bunting, Matthews, Marner, Robertson, Tavares, Nylander, Simmons, Kampf, and Kerfoot, which people say he might get moved as well, and Nick Abruzzese. Then on defense, Riley, Brody, Sandin, Liljegren with $2.5 million deals, which I think will be less than that, to be honest with you. Giordano, who's signed, and Justin Hall, which, again, you guys can make up your mind if you think you trade Hall as well and try to go after a right-handed shot top 4 guy or maybe even another lefty. But again, this would be the blue line if you trade Jake Muzzin. I have them in LTIR because this takes them away from the cap, and I have Mrazek there as well. So that would give the Leafs $12.3 million to get 2 more forwards and a goaltender, which is very doable. You could get a really good guy in your top 6 and probably a really good goaltender and fill in some pieces. Now, that could mean, do you trade Kerfoot as well? Do you see if maybe you can get something for him? Like, Kerfoot has positive trade value. Muzzin, to me, still has positive trade value. Mrazek has negative trade value in my eyes. But you trade that it correlates to $15.7 million in cap space to acquire 3 forwards, maybe get another defenseman and a goaltender, which is very doable. I just don't think all 3 of these pieces will go, but if they do end up going, you can sign a Mikheyev and then still get somebody in the top 6, then try to bring up a guy like a Pontus Holmberg or a Joey Anderson that have been rumored to get a spot. Maybe you go with the big, massive Curtis Douglas for that size and physicality, and you send Wayne Simmons down to the minors and go with a faster 4th line that has a little bit of size on it as well. So there is options for the Leafs, and they can clear out this money. I know I'm a Leaf fan, I'm a Leaf channel, and people are going to say, well, it's impossible. I'm going to remind you again, whatever people are telling you Kerfoot's trade value is, and they're saying it's negative and they'll have to attach pieces to him to get rid of him, that is not the case. Kerfoot had a really good season. He's a good 2-way forward. He had some blunders in the playoffs. I'll say a couple that I did not like just off the top of my head. But if you think Kerfoot has negative trade value, then realistically, I can't really have an intelligent hockey conversation with you because it doesn't make any sense. He has positive trade value. Jake Muzzin, I'm on the fence on. I would still think he has positive trade value, especially if he goes back to LA, because they're a rebuilding team that might want a guy like Muzzin back in the lineup to not rebuilding, but retooling to get even better. I still consider that a rebuild because they are a good team, but I think that maybe a guy like Jake Muzzin just fits back into them a lot better than maybe what he does for the Leafs right now. And then Mrazek, of course, you're probably going to have to attach something good to him to get rid of his contract, but I don't think it'll be as ridiculous as people think it would be. So it's very doable to get this much cap space, and notice how I didn't trade William Nylander, and I even could consider keeping a guy like Alex Kerfoot. They necessarily don't even have to move him. They could keep Kerfoot and re-sign Mikheyev and Engvall if they wanted to. But that's not what the Leafs want to do this offseason. They want to improve in that top six. They probably want a physical top six guy, and they could sign anybody that they really want to. Realistically, with that $15.7 million, they could get a pretty solid top six guy. So let me know what you guys think. Do you buy into any of the rumors? I don't buy into the Muzzin one that much. The Sandin one's interesting, but I'm not really sure about that. I'm kind of on the fence. I don't think they trade Sandin. I think the Muzzin one is a little bit more, it makes a little bit more sense. I'm not positive that it would be with the LA Kings, but it would make sense. I'm a little back and forth on this. So let me know what you guys think down below. If you are new here, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video or stream. Peace.